Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at this map right here called Highway. You start off at what I would consider is the top of the map, and there's really not much of interest up here. You have a platform that is from Derby Arenas that you can drive around on, and a hole in the middle that goes to nothingness. You have some water you'll run into, and eventually you'll hit invisible ground, and you cannot actually collide with this water. You'll go right through it. And then you hit the invisible ground, which means it's just really hard to see anything because it's so dark down here. Pretty much everything interesting on this map, though, is at the bottom of this really long road, which you could call the highway if you really wanted to. And it takes about 30 seconds or so to get from the top to the bottom using the stock pickup. So that means every time I do something on this map, I'm going to have 30 seconds of basically nothing happening on the screen. So that means I have to talk about something to kind of keep things interesting. Now, I could do really lazy, sloppy editing where it's just like we teleport all over the place, but I really don't like editing like that because, like, oh look, there's an edit, that's so obvious. I like it to not be obvious when there's an edit. So anyways, when you get to the bottom, it's a little bit rough, as you see right there, going from the sloped ground to the flat. But now we could go ahead and hit some trees at about 130 miles per hour and wrap our truck right around it, just like the thumbnail, actually. That looks just like the thumbnail. It does a perfect job of destroying the truck, and it is totally immobilized. For this next run, we can go ahead and get a faster vehicle so it takes less time to get to the bottom, so we could use the SBR4, and I think it'll take maybe like 20-25 seconds to get to the bottom versus 30, so it's still going to take a while to get to the bottom, but it should be a little bit faster. Now, the numbers I'm giving you are just rough estimates. I never pulled out like a stopwatch and said, alright, that took 27.74 seconds or something like that. I'm just like, yeah, that was faster than the other one. Maybe it was 20 seconds, I don't know. And the 30 seconds, I was like, yeah, that felt like 30 seconds, but who knows, because it always feels like things take longer when you're just sitting here doing nothing really. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just veer off to the right into the sand over there, and it should do a good job of giving you an interesting looking crash. There we go. We're spinning on the concrete. Alright, and into the other side. But for an almost 200 mile per hour collision, that thing held up a lot better than I expected. I expected total destruction, but the sand really minimized the overall damage for a collision at that speed. So maybe we should do it again at 200 miles per hour, actually crashing into something. I really like the way it looked when we crashed into a tree, so let's just crash into a tree again, and this one is at like 50 miles per hour or more, so it should be a lot more violent than the first one. Actually, it's gonna probably be more like 70 miles per hour more if I hit it right after the ground levels up, because the other one I kind of waited a bit to get like the perfect angle to hit the tree. This one I'm just gonna hit a tree because we're going so fast. There is no such thing as a perfect angle. All of them will look great when you hit it at this speed. So we'll just go right about like this, get 8 times slow-mo, actually get 100 times slow-mo. We're going so fast we could definitely need the extra slow-mo here. I think it's made out of paper mache. It just crumples so much because we're going so fast. And the amazing thing is we hit it with the underside, but we hit it with such force that the top is also ruined. It is just such... Oh, that looks cool the way that like the sparks are on the tree. Oh, that is cool looking. It's like the tree is giving off sparks, but it's not. It's all my car from scraping on the tree the whole way, nice and consistently. That is actually pretty cool. I like that. And I guess we could go ahead and speed things up because not much is going to be happening except for a dust cloud, making it impossible to actually see the car and reducing my frame rate to about 15. Oh my goodness, dust cloud. And now we're back into the 50s, and eventually we'll get to the 60 frame rate. So that's a brutal crash, though. I think that turned out really well. If for some reason you didn't want to stay on the main road, you can also try to drive down the side of the road, which sometimes works out, sometimes doesn't work out. It really depends on how lucky you are, because there's some violent lips you can hit, which will wreck your car. Sometimes you can get over them, sometimes you can't. With a car that sits this low, going at this fast, though, I don't think we'll be able to clear it, but you never know. Sometimes you get lucky. Also, that thing that looks like it's a hole in the ground that you could get stuck in, it's not. You could drive right over it and nothing happens. It's just an illusion of your mind. Alright, so let's see. The big lip is right after that, so here it is, and I don't think we're going to clear it with this car. We're probably just going to wreck on it, so let's slow-mo so we can see the wreckage. Yup. I don't think we cleared it. The way the doors just keep going. Oh, that was weird looking. Like, it looked like half the car just kept going for a second until I realized, oh, hey, that's just the doors falling off. But just that single crash, because we were going so fast, basically just made our entire car a ball of metal. That is quite impressive. The steering wheel is behind the rear hatch, even. Like, that makes no sense at all how the steering wheel managed that, but okay, steering wheel, whatever you want to do. The pedals also managed that, and so did the, it looks like the needles on the tachometer. You can see them kind of floating there as well. Let me freeze it for a sec so I can actually show them. There we go. There are the needles on the tachometer, those little red lines right at the top of the steering wheel. Because they're kind of hard to see. Especially after YouTube re-encodes the video, it look really terrible. Yeah, then it's even harder to see. And we could just let it kind of finish up. You see, it had no momentum though, because all of the force was absorbed in that impact. So that's why it got so destroyed. But if we go to the left side, the lip that we crashed into is a lot less steep, and we could probably clear it with the SBR4. But just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a vehicle with some more ground clearance, like the V8 Drag Bruckle Moonhawk, because I know that thing's fast, and I know it has ground clearance, so it should be pretty much the perfect vehicle for this situation. So I'm going to see what speed it tops out at, and because I know with this car, it's probably going to be gear limited more so than engine limited. The other car, the SBR4, was like engine limited, meaning it had gearing where it could keep going faster, but the engine could not make it go faster. This one has so much power, it's going to be the opposite probably. So I'm thinking this thing will probably top out at about 170 naturally if it wasn't for the downhill. And here's the lip though, like I was talking about. You can see a lot less steep. Probably could have done it with the SBR4. I don't know what happened to my left tire right there. But you could easily clear it with the Moonhawk right here. And hopefully we can keep going and maintain speed. It looks like we're actually able to maintain about 180 miles per hour, which is really impressive. Because the gearing, we like hit redline at like 150. So that's 30 miles per hour more we somehow got. Now, there's a thing coming up. It's this little thing that sticks out of the ground. Where if we hit this, it can cause a pretty cool crash. Because just this tiny little thing we hit, but we're going so fast and it hits you at such a specific angle, it can really cause some damage. There we go. And it looks like it's literally tearing the frame out from under the car. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's literally tearing the frame from the body. I think it actually is doing that. That is amazing. Like, that's one of those crashes where it's so absurd. Like, never will this happen in real life, because you're never going to have a car going 200 miles per hour where you catch the frame on something like that. But in video games, you can do crazy things like that, and, well, that is just absurd. Obviously, this thing's not going to be able to drive. I like that the brakes never stop working no matter what it seems like. Like, you can always hit the parking brake to stop the tires, because the brake lines are unbreakable as of this version of the game. But yeah, that's amazing. Like, all of the damage was absorbed by the frame mostly. Like, there is some damage on the car itself, but for a 200 mile per hour collision, that does not look like that much damage. So that's just crazy looking. So let's go ahead and do this same road one more time, but this time I'm gonna avoid hitting the thing we hit and continue to the end of the road where there's some rocks we can hit, and the rocks do crash very similar to the thing we just hit, to be honest. They both do a good job of trying to grab the frame out from under the car, but I don't think it'll be quite as dramatic as the last one. That one was like a perfect hit. I did that thing a few times in testing, and only one time did I manage to get it as good as we did right there that you saw. So thankfully, I was able to get a good one on the first try while recording. I mean, you wouldn't know it because I would just edit it out until I got a good try, but I actually got lucky there. So I want to point out how lucky I am, because I'm not usually a lucky person. So there's the thing we hit, zooming by it. Hey, that rhymed. Aha. Like a poet. Or something. So here are the rocks. Get some slow-mo on these rocks. I don't know how much slow-mo we need. I think 8 times should be appropriate, because it's kind of a lot of crashes. And, oh, we're just going to fly over them. Ah! Well, okay then. That's not the way I expected things to go. I expected to be grabbed by the rocks, because that's what happened in testing, but it just shows you can't always predict what's going to happen. I did not see that coming. Eventually we'll hit the invisible ground. Like, it's so random. It just looks like the car just kind of implodes when it hits the invisible ground. But you can't see much down here, so let's just respawn it. And we can do one last run with the Moonhawk, and for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go full throttle to the bottom as with all the other ones. And then I'm going to swerve at the last second to hopefully get this thing to hit the sand in a very violent way, so it either violently spins or violently flips or violently rolls. You know, I don't really care what motion it does as long as it's violent. I said violent like 5 times in a 30-second window. Whoa, I don't think I've ever said violent that often before. There we go, that's pretty violent. Alright, that works for me. We can take a look at the outcome of the crash, although it is unfortunately upside down. Surprisingly though, minimal damage for 200 miles per hour, I would say. We could stop those tires from spinning. Alright. So I think that's enough of driving alongside the road, so let's go ahead and go back onto the road and drive on it some more. And for the car, we're going to use the Bishu Pessima, because that's a different car than I would normally use for something like this. Now, I know this thing will struggle to maintain speed at the bottom, but that is to my advantage, actually, because I don't want to go that fast, because I want to go along the road, which curves and stuff, and trying to corner at 150 miles per hour is a death wish for most of those corners, so it makes sense to get a slower car anyways. Although I don't know how well it will cope with the transition part having such a soft suspension. Hopefully it'll still be drivable afterwards. We'll find out soon. Trunk popped open. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Something's not right. Something's not right. Those front tires are ruined, and unfortunately, since it's front-wheel drive, that's where all the power goes. So I'm holding the throttle to the floor, and we're just losing speed, so this isn't going to work out too well. So what we'll do is we'll just respawn the car right here. Originally, I wanted to be coming through here at a little bit higher of a speed. I was hoping maybe 100 miles per hour, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore because we had to respawn the vehicle because it broke. So instead, we'll be going about 80 miles per hour, it looks like, and that's good enough, I guess. So right here, there's a fork in the road. You could either go right or straight. We already went straight before. That's where the ramp was, so we're going to go right to show you where this road goes. And this one, we're going to want to slow down a little bit still with this car, actually, because these roads are a little curvy and a little thin at times, so you want to make sure you don't crash. I mean, I could, of course, crash, but that's not the goal right now. The goal is not to crash. And there are some bushes that sit in the road. You could drive right through those bushes. I don't know how they grew in the pure concrete or whatever, but they found a way. Actually, it's asphalt, not concrete. And it's weird, like, for some reason, it doesn't feel like you're going 80 miles per hour, like when you're just driving along the road. I don't know why. It's just the way it's designed up. It just doesn't feel like 80 miles per hour. But then you go around a corner and you realize, oh goodness, this car cannot corner at 80 miles per hour. I don't know. It just has to do with the width of the road, I guess. Like, it widens out on this section. That must be what it is. Anyways, though, the road eventually ends right here where you fall into a pit of water. Just wanted to show that so you guys could see what was on the alternative route, because if you were me, you would probably be curious, what's over there? And a little bit of damage to the car, nothing too severe. So I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what this map is like and what it has. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. So until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.